Are you the same person you were yesterday? Is there a central you inside your head, sitting in a command chair, pulling the levers? Or is the feeling of being a self just a clever trick your brain plays on you? Surprisingly, the answer might be the latter. But how is that possible? Who is asking this question? What is the self? The essential self. Imagine your body is a complex ship, and deep inside, in the control room, sits a captain. This captain is yourself. It's the core of your being that experiences the world through the ship's sensors, remembers past voyages, and makes decisions about where to go next. The crew and the ship might change over time, but the captain remains the same. In this way, you get a continuous sense of identity. The you that went to school is the same you reading this now. The past belongs to you. The future is yours to decide. Your thoughts, feelings, and memories are all yours. This is how it feels to be you, right? A continuous, singular entity, the stable center of your own universe. But what if there is no captain? What if the control room is empty, and the ship is run by 1,000 different crew members, all working together, sometimes in competition? This way, there is no single entity in charge. The feeling of a captain is just an illusion created by the crew's coordinated activity. This is the hard problem of consciousness. Science can explain how the brain processes information, how neurons fire, but it can't explain the subjective, first-person experience of being, the redness of red, the feeling of sadness, the simple awareness of existing. If the self is just an illusion, who or what is being fooled? An illusion has to be an illusion to someone. But if that someone is also an illusion, the whole concept collapses. This sounds crazy. Of course you exist. You are experiencing this right now. How can you be an illusion? Here's the problem. When neuroscientists and philosophers look for this captain, this central self, they can't find it anywhere. Heavily simplified, neuroscience shows that the brain is not a hierarchy with a CEO at the top. It's more like a committee of competing systems, all specialized for different tasks. There is no single spot in the brain where it all comes together. No place where the you lives. This means your sense of a unified self might be a story your brain tells itself. And we can see this story being written in real time. Okay, this is abstract. How does this work in practice? Imagine a split brain patient. To treat severe epilepsy, the connection between their brain's left and right hemispheres has been cut. The left hemisphere controls language and logic. The right hemisphere is more visual and intuitive. They no longer communicate directly. In an experiment, you show the patient's right eye, which connects to the left brain, a picture of a chicken claw. You show their left eye, which connects to the right brain, a picture of a snowy scene. Then you ask them to point to related images from a selection. The patient's left hand, controlled by the right brain, points to a shovel for the snow. Their right hand, controlled by the left brain, points to a chicken. So far, so good. Each hemisphere is responding to what it saw. But then you ask the patient why they pointed to both a shovel and a chicken. Remember, only the left brain, which saw the chicken claw, can speak. It doesn't know about the snowy scene. But does it say, "I don't know"? No. It instantly invents a story. The patient will say, "Oh, that's easy. The chicken claw goes with the chicken, and you need a shovel to clean out the chicken coop." Okay, so who is telling that story? Well, that's the problem. Neuroscientists call this function the left brain interpreter. It's one module of the brain whose job is to create a coherent narrative out of the chaos of our actions and perceptions. It creates a story. That makes it seem like a single, rational self was in charge all along, even when it wasn't. This means that the feeling of a unified self, the captain of the ship, is a narrative created after the fact to make sense of your brain's actions. The self is not the author of your life's book, but the narrator reading it out loud, pretending it wrote the story. Are you the same person? If the self is a story, what connects you to the person with your name from 10 years ago? You feel like you are that person. You have their memories, but that's not how it works. Think of the Ship of Theseus. If you replace every plank and sail on a ship over time, is it still the same ship at the end? Your body is like that. Almost every cell you had a decade ago has been replaced. Your beliefs, personality, and desires have shifted. You are a completely different pattern of matter and information. The story of you is the only thread connecting the two. So, is your identity just a story? Well, maybe. Maybe the feeling of continuity is an illusion, and you are a new person in every moment, inheriting the memories of a stranger from a second ago. Except you are experiencing this right now. If the self is a story, who is the audience? This raw subjective awareness seems to be more fundamental than the story itself. So what's going on here? It turns out that for every individual, the experience of being a self is undeniable. Your pain feels like your pain. Your thoughts feel like your thoughts. Now, you are clearly experiencing the world from a single point of view. So for you at least, the self makes perfect sense. If we don't try to pin down the self as a physical object, a little man in the head, things again start to look different. Let's return to our ship. Maybe the self is not the captain. And it's not just a made-up story either. Maybe the self is an emergent property, like a traffic jam. A traffic jam is a real thing, but it's not made of some special jam substance. It emerges from the interactions of many individual cars. No single car is the jam, but the jam is real. Instead of a solid, unchanging captain, the self is a dynamic pattern that emerges from the complex interactions of billions of neurons. The story is part of it, the subjective awareness is part of it, the body is part of it. The self is not a noun, but a verb, a process. You are not a thing. You are a selfing process. What is real then? Let's recap. We started with the self as a captain, a solid entity at your core. Then we found that neuroscience can't find it, suggesting it might be a story, an illusion. And we ended up with the self as a real but emergent pattern, like a wave on the ocean. So which is correct? What is real? Is the you that started this video the same you that is here now? To be honest, no one knows. What we've learned are a few possibilities to describe the self, but they're not the only ones. Some philosophers and traditions, like Buddhism, have argued for millennia that the self is an illusion and that realizing this is the key to enlightenment. Others think that consciousness itself is fundamental to the universe, and we are all just temporary expressions of it. And others think the self is a kind of user interface, a simplified model that the brain creates to interact with the world. We could go on, but isn't it time for you to decide what to believe? The concept of the self is a mirror, reflecting a question back at the questioner. Subscribe and keep asking.